2023 budget hearing / public work session. This is Joe Cilio, President of the Board of Education speaking. Thank you for attending in person or through Zoom. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Due notice of today's meeting has been served to all members of the Board of Education pursuant to the requirements of laws. At this time, Cindy, can you please take attendance? Present.
Present. Present. Present.
Present. Present. Present.
I think at this time, we're going to go through the proposed 2023-2024 budget. I think I'm going to be handing over to Mrs. DeCapua, or do you want to start, Mrs. Dr. Sinat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just gonna ask, I'm gonna have to stay here, Cindy, okay? You have the clicker? Do I have the clicker yet?
Behind you. Yep.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Cilio. So this evening, the budget, for this budget hearing, all the information that we'll be sharing with you this evening, we've gone through it several times. We started our budget work sessions a couple of months ago, and every month we have shared different aspects of the budget till the budget adoption, which was last week on the April 18th, or the last board meeting, which was April 18th. And so we'll be reviewing some of, there's been no changes since that last meeting we had. We always start with our mission and vision. So our budget, as we've developed it, it aligns with our mission and vision statement. Here is our buildings. We have beautiful buildings. Our budget also ensures that we have the upkeep of these beautiful facilities that we have. So this evening, we will go through again how this budget was developed, our numbers, talk about some of the highlights on the budget in our budget, talk a little bit about what a contingency budget would look like and what's on the ballot, and then address any questions that you may have. So our priorities, these district priorities, they have remained pretty constant for the past several years. We want to make sure that we have our focus on our students' well-being. Their social emotional well-being is important. We want to ensure that our programs are constantly looking at developing and analyzing and expanding our opportunities for our students. And in this budget, particularly with our co-curricular, we have listened to our students, and as a board, you've met with students as well. And some of those ideas we've incorporated into this budget. We are also making sure that we have professional learning taking place for our adults, all of our educators that are research-based. And we want to make sure that our facilities, it's safe, clean, and energy efficient. So with our budget, again, it's aligned to our mission and vision and our priorities. We do understand that our major source of revenue is through the, through with our individual homeowners. So we take that very seriously. We want to ensure that our budget, as we develop it, is within the tax cap. And we have strong, financial controls, and we really do look at the fiscal health of our district over time. And we analyze our enrollment and our staffing. Our demographic studies is done we do it every other year. And the staffing analysis that starts early on as we develop the budget. Some of the ways we control costs are that we are part of consortiums. We utilize our technology to the fullest. We also are part of the state and the county and the village bids for contracts and supplies. We have one of the best credit ratings in our district. We're one of the very few districts in New York. We have a AAA bond rating. And we're very, very fortunate with our community and the generous support that we get from PTA, SEPTA, TMA, and all of the friends organizations that we have. We also have transportation agreements with other school districts that also generate revenue for us. So again, this number that you see here for our proposed budget, this has been the same. It's $130,282,491. That's a budget to budget increase of 4.58%. That's a little over $5.7 million. And our projected tax levy and our maximum allowable tax levy is at 2.32%. We are required to always present our budget in this three-part format, which is program, administration, and capital. And you can see that majority of our budget is what touches our students, which is under programming, a little over 75%. And then here, what you see is the proposed budget is the pie chart and just numbers. And this here, we've gone through these codes before. These are with the three-part budget, these are the major functional codes for the budget. The detailed budget report, it's all on our website, the codes. And what we have done on our website, the budget is front and center prominent. So you click on it and all the document, all the presentation, all the information is on our website. So our proposed budget, it complies with the tax levy cap, which is at 2.32%, which I shared with you just a little while ago. It also expands our opportunities for our students with our programming. And we really want to make sure that we are investing with this budget on just in terms of expanding opportunities for our students, their learning opportunities. And then also our capital improvement. Our focus is on learning spaces. We've done quite a bit on that. We are continuing to do more of that, our special education services, and then just opportunities for our children, diverse learners. What happens if our budget fails? We have three options. One is that we propose, we may want to present the same proposal for a revote, present a modified proposal for a vote, or adopt a contingency budget. And the contingency budget would be a reduction for us, would be more than $4 million. And it's important to note the tax levy cannot be greater than the prior year's actual tax levy. So there's no increase in the tax levy. It's not allowed. So that for us, that would be, we'd have to reduce our budget by approximately $4 million. And some of the, or all of the non-contingent items would be removed from the budget. And those things are typically material supplies, equipment, things of that nature. And the Board of Ed again determines which items fall under that category. But with the budget, you still would have to fulfill all the contractual obligations and the debt service obligations for next year. So on our ballot, we have our school district, our budget, and we also have election of one Board of Education trustee. And for us, it would be a write-in ballot because we did not receive a petition this year in time. And our budget vote, today's the budget hearing, and it's followed by our budget vote and election on Tuesday next week. And again, there was something I wanted to clarify. The budget vote takes place in our high school gymnasium, which is important because I think there was some information in the
6 a.m. to 9.
6 a.m. to 9 p.m. There was information in GC News that somebody had pointed out to me that it said it would be somewhere else. I think in Pruitt Hall. It's here
And from 12 to 9.
from 12 to 9.
Yeah, but
It's not, it's from
that.
6. Yeah, timing was wrong. And I think what we will do is notify.
6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
That's right.
It's in
Right.
the gymnasium of
Right
the high
across the
school.
hall.
Yes, right across the hall. Correct.
So that's something that we'll make sure with GC News will let them know. So they have it posted on there. We do have, like I said, everything is every detail of the budget is on our website as well.
Thank you, Dr. Sinha, Mrs. DeCapua. I would just like to comment, I think the budget has been meticulously planned over the last several months and, you know, tough decisions have been made with the budget and the tax cap. There are, as we've stated in the previous meeting, significant increases in certain expenses that are non-variable, like insurance. Obviously, as Dr. Sinha pointed out, most of the budget goes towards teaching children in classrooms. So expenses that, you know, we're happy to spend and also I think are most important and the least variable probably in the budget as well. So from where I said, I'm pleased with where we ended up in a tough year in a tough environment. And, you know, want to say thank you to everybody to my right for working hard at putting this budget together. And I would recommend that everybody go out and vote for it. You know, the contingency budget that was just laid out. I think those are obviously bad options. I know they've happened before in other districts, but we don't want to see that happen here. And I think this is a very reasonable and fair budget that's been put together in light of all the challenges we have. So, I don't know if any other board members have questions or comments, but I'll pass it to.
Yeah, thank you, President Cilio. Just one comment to make, because I'm asked this question a lot out in the community. Just to clarify, the write-in ballot for the trustee position can come from any section, anyone who desires to serve the Board of Ed as a trustee. So just want to clarify that anyone can serve, that wants to serve, they would have to just write their name in on election day. That's it.
Thank you.
None from me, Joe.
Thank you. At this time, you know, we'll take questions from citizens in the room who'd like to ask questions on the presentation.
Please state your name, address, come to the mic.
You can just come right over here to the mic if you'd like to. Just so everybody on the phone can hear you. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Robert Hers and I live at 111 Cherry Valley Avenue. And this is the first meeting that I've gone to. I wish that the attendance were, you know, better because I can see that a lot of work has gone into this budget and my background is in both accounting and finance. And your work is so far superior to what the Garden City Village did for their budget meeting. I am still working on what I am going to send to them in terms of the oral comments that I made on their budget, but it was not, I spent an awful lot of time on their materials because it was not as well laid out as your budget was, because the data in terms of not the PowerPoints, but the other data, it had everything was summarized and it was very easy for me to follow. Whereas the village, it's from another world. I don't know who did that. And I really feel for the new mayor and the other people because they're all volunteers and they don't have the time like maybe I do, or even the background to like put together the types of analysis that's really required. Anyway, I'm sorry to give you the background. I have one question and then I had something else. Now, I know that New York State was very slow in putting their budget together this year, but the amounts that Newsday showed, I think it was this weekend, I brought the article with me if anyone didn't see it, is that Garden City is going to be getting quite a bit more money from the state than what you have in your budget. And I was just wondering how that's going to affect, you know, the taxes, because the amount is $1.6 million more in state aid than what you have in your budget. And, you know, if that went through, that would mean that the amount that you would need to show increased taxes to the residents would be reduced by 2/3. So I'm sure a lot of this is just due to the fault of the New York State legislature, where they just could not pass a budget on a timely basis. But it is $1.6 million more than you had budgeted. So I was just curious about, you know, how you're going to be handling that. And then I had something else after.
I'm going to have Ms. DeCapua address that, please.
Sure. The amount that was presented in Newsday and presented on the state aid runs includes the allocation for universal pre-K. That money is a grant that's, first of all, not accounted for but either with revenues or expenses in the general fund budget. So it is confusing out there with what is, how it's reported, but that is not part of a general fund revenue. That,
Yes, but yet the prior year, the amount that Newsday shows is almost exactly what you have in the budget.
this is different this year. It's the
Okay.
first year that they're doing that.
Okay. so-
UPK last year was shown under this. This year, they put it as they call it an above the line.
Okay,
And that's just how it is, that the presentation that they gave.
okay, so but the amount that you had budgeted, that's what you're going to be getting?
That's what we're projecting, yes.
All right, yes, because this, I understand, with your explanation. Okay, and then my next question, has to do with the cost of healthcare for the school district. And the costs are escalating at a much higher rate than even the village. And so if I look at your, health insurance for the fiscal year that just ended, or that will be ending in June, fiscal 23 and fiscal 24. The health insurance, which is shown on page 40 of the things that had like the Excel spreadsheets. For the budget, it shows an increase of 15% this year and 15% next year, which is higher than any kind of insurance rates and things that I'm familiar with. So I'm just wondering why it's escalating at such a rate, and in particular, within the capital account, within that category, that's going up 27%, next year for your, health insurance.
In the capital,
Yes, in the capital part of the budget.
Oh,
There are the
that's
three
for-
parts of the
yeah, that's-
budget. That one is going up much more than the other categories. The first numbers that I gave you were for the total budget,
sure.
which is on the last page of that budget run.
Right.
Whereas the, capital account I pointed out because that one seems to be going up much more than the others.
So when we split up the benefits between capital program and program and administrative, those are divided up by FTE that are in there. So those allocations are not exactly to the capital, but it's how we have to show it for the three-part budget. The actual health insurance is all budgeted for in one line. And we did see a 15% increase in premiums for this year. For next year, what happens is we budget for actuals, so of what we've seen, because health insurance is budgeted on a calendar year, but our budget is on a fiscal year. So what we have for the first half of the year are actuals based on current premiums. What's going on for the next year is both a projected increase in premiums plus an increase in additional FTE that we would expect to hire and those that would be resigning. So that would cause that to go up.
Right, but your FTE is only expected to go up by less than 1% next year.
As total. So that's correct, but we have an investment in retirees as well.
Right, yes,
So
and that.
Those
yes,
people
so-
retiring and others
And
coming,
the number of
right? So the net,
actives plus retirees,
Correct.
so it depends on how many deaths you have and everything else. So the number that I calculated is based on, just your
that's
in-
correct.
active
So
employees,
we're gonna
and
net
that's 0.6.
only the that amount of FTE change, but how much we're responsible for health insurance would still increase.
Right, I understand. However, my main point is that this rate of escalation seems to be, very well above other indicators. And I know that there are lags and everything in terms of what happens with healthcare. And like my broader issue, to the trustees is that, this issue of healthcare needs to be addressed. And like, I'll point out, because I spent my whole career working in the private sector. And when the accounting changed for post-retirement benefits in the very early 1990s, once it went on to companies' balance sheets and into the profit stream, those benefits were substantially reduced over time. And so right now, most private companies provide very limited post-retirement healthcare, and it's usually capped at a certain amount per employee, like $2,000 or $3,000. And bringing it back onto putting it onto the balance sheet instead of having a pay-as-you-go methodology was really one of the driving forces behind that. It took a number of years, and it's only been about Because it hasn't been 4 years since it came back onto the municipal's balance sheet in terms of being disclosed. 4 or 5 years, it's pretty recent. So I bring that up because if you calculate the healthcare costs per active employee and you include the benefit that they're going to get when they retire, for the school districts, it was $40,000 per active employee last year. If I include OPEB, for the village, it was $47,000. So these costs are high, in terms of if you look at what someone's compensation is, plus what their benefits are. And I know that you can't fund it yet because of the situation with New York State and the way it needs to go through a legislature. I'm just bringing it up that, these costs, like they just mushroom. And moreover, the numbers that you're assuming for post-retirement benefits with a 7% rate of healthcare inflation trending down to, what is it? Is it 4.5% over 10 years? That assumption, in my opinion, is heroic, given the escalation in healthcare costs that you're currently facing. So the pension benefit, that's the OPEB benefit, the OPEB liability is going to escalate more. And at the end of the 2022 fiscal year, the OPEB liability is almost 10 times the liability of the school district's debt.
Yeah, I mean, the OPEB liability is required to be on our balance sheet, but has no bearing on our budgets for the ongoing fiscal years. So that is a notation we're required to do. Reserving for these, we're not allowed to. We have to be on a pay-as-you-go. So the calculations for those budget codes are based on what our liability would be for this year. The OPEB liability, at one point, you probably know
Right,
they were.
it can bounce all around depending on
Sure,
what interest rate is used to discount it.
of course.
And
And we have
also-
an actuary that does those
No,
calculations.
I'm very familiar with all the accounting.
Of
for this
course.
Stuff, but I'm just saying that I know that we're not currently paying for it. But, down the road, we're likely to pay for it. In terms of if you think about what the accounting cost is, which is supposed to capture the expense for the current period.
Right.
And, I know it's based on estimates and stuff like that. I'm just bringing it up in terms of how this stuff, as Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook proclaimed, this is going to be the year of efficiency. And, especially if the economy goes into a recession. And, I'm just bringing these things up in terms of looking at what is done elsewhere, like the village, obviously, with their $47,000. And I'll be writing them a complete analysis of this. And the village has other issues with their financial statements that Garden City does not have, that the school district does not have, in my opinion, or else I would be raising them. So anyway, I just wanted to, bring some of these things up. I don't know how you get, your information in terms of what alternatives are for this. I don't know if, I don't know, but I don't think that you have a high deductible health plan for regular insurance. But based on research that I've done at private companies, more than half the employees are in high deductible health plans. And high deductible health plans cost 10% less than your standard plans. And well, I would actually write the information if you wanted me to. But if you think about the benefits of using a high deductible health plan and what an employee can contribute to it, at their eventual retirement, they would be much better off financially if they contributed the maximum, because a health savings account has all of the benefits of a deductible IRA or 401k or whatever kind of tax advantage savings vehicle you want to use, and all the benefits of the Roth. And those things are greatly understated. And that could be a real boon for people, when they retire, in terms of, because even with your plan, if it's a family, they pay 25% of the healthcare costs. And then God forbid, if someone needs nursing home or other treatment. So I would like the board to try to be creative and think about ways to, reduce the rate of healthcare in terms of what's being done, because the private sector has done a lot of work in this area. So there certainly are examples. I know the public sector is, way behind it. And I do often believe that the that the public sector lives in a parallel universe in terms of how it operates. And it doesn't have a profit function. And, when you have a profit function, you have to, solve either your revenue or expenses to be able to remain a viable enterprise. That's all, that I had to say. And I, thank you for listening to my comments.
Thank you for your comments. We appreciate that. I know, in our discussions, both in public and in other forums, we discuss all of these things in great detail. You raise many issues that I don't think are specific to Garden City and specific to kind of school districts and, public accounting and finance, generally speaking. So we are doing our best to try to figure out ways to get creative, but there are limitations. So we appreciate the comments. We are thinking about it, and thank you for raising them this evening.
Mr. Kurz, again, thank you for coming to our first meeting. Usually it's more packed and when we start the budgets, so we hope to see you again in subsequent meetings. Your wealth of knowledge in accounting is very extensive. I could hear it in the several minutes you spoke. And that might be something you may want to volunteer some time on our audit committee. But I also would suggest if you want to volunteer anytime, we do have an audit committee.
Yeah, we
I think you'd be valuable if you'd like to serve. It meets several times a year and it's conducted with our internal and external auditors. Very
send us
valuable.
an
to me.
email. Send an email to the board about it.
Please send an
Happy-
email to the district and we'll give you all that information for upcoming meetings if you'd like.
Never is for anybody, but
Yeah.
we
I know the
appreciate it.
feeling. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on the budget?
Hi, my name is Denora Della Camera, 1 Sunset Lane, Garden City. Good evening, everybody. I had a question I was going through the budget presentation for the writing. It was the one with the writing and the plus presentation on April 4th. And I saw that under the data analysis, strengths were categorized at 50%. So any students that had skills at 50%. And I think the highest skill that was noted here was 55% was considered a strength. Anything below, and I'm seeing numbers at 37%, 47% are considered an area for growth. So if 50% is considered a strength and considered success for writing, I'm just a little bit confused as to how we're approaching growth or improving writing in the district when I'm seeing that the programs the district is going to be using are just variations of what we're still using now. So I'm just not really following how the curriculum or how the writing is going to change and bring those numbers upwards when we're using units of study K-1. New York City, I don't know if anyone's read the New York Times lately. New York City's just thrown it out. They're not even letting anyone in New York City use that program anymore. They're giving 3 choices for ELA. So ELA, including the writing, is no longer going to be using TC. It's banned. So we have TC on here. We have a homegrown Garden City writing curriculum guides. We have the writing strategies book by Jennifer Saravallo, who also is somebody who worked at TC for a long time before she started writing her own books. So I'm not really seeing how we're shifting to improve if we're just doing more of the same things that we have lots of data showing that we've gotten 50% of kids doing various amount of skills that are required to produce proficient writing. So I'm just confused as to how we're approaching this going to the next year because I also read an article in the Garden City News that said that we're going to be all hands on deck in September with professional development and implementation of new curriculum and new writing plans to move forward with, but we haven't really discussed much in detail what that's going to look like either. There was just brief mention of continuing these programs, but it's just more of the same. I'm just not understanding how we're going forward with this.
So I think, Ms. DePape, thanks for asking the question. I think I asked that question in that meeting, specifically around the percentages and kind of the strengths and it being, maybe a smaller number than we all would want. As we've had some workshops on the writing in the past few weeks, and time is escaping me, but a few weeks, we had the full team here talking through what they're going to do, and it's still evolving. We're going to have future discussions around that. The goal is to get it rolled out, as you mentioned, in September. I think we're making progress. There was a lot of work that needed to be done to analyze where our deficiencies were and what we needed to do. So, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say I can answer all of your questions. I think all those questions are being raised by the people in front of you and are trying to be addressed by the people to the right and some people who are not here this evening to answer that question. But it is a goal of mine, and I think Dr. Sinha and the staff, to make sure that that number is not 50%, because I don't think that's a goal that we share.
Another thing I'm confused about is I submitted a research article that's peer reviewed from ResearchGate, actually, and it's about running records. And running records is really how the district still is doing professional development and still implementing on how to evaluate children's reading assessment from K to 5 or K to, I don't think they do it in sixth grade, but K to 5. And it's shown that it's got a predicted value of 54%. So the same as flipping a coin. So, and this study evaluated using fluency rate, which oral reading fluency rate, and how that correlates to reading achievement and actual testing on standardized tests with reading and writing. And that scored in the 80%. And that takes 2 to 3 minutes to do versus your running records, it takes 15 to 20 minutes to do per child. So efficiency and even the cost to do a running record is so much higher and less efficient than the research. And this research, it's from 2014, 2015. It's not brand new research. It's been around for a while, and it's been shared for a while with the literacy director and with Dr. Sinha. And I think I've even emailed it to you all on the board. I'm not sure, but in case I haven't, I have it here for you. But yet we're still doing things that have been disproven and proven not to be consistent with probability of being predictive and, you know, positive predictive values. So I'm just confused as to how we're going in a direction that's actually the antithesis of research and science-based.
So I haven't read that, so I'm happy to take a copy if you'd like to leave it or share an electronic copy so everybody can have it. I would say maybe it's best for us to come back to you on that. This discussion is really placed in the budget, and I'm personally not prepared, and I know we'd have other people here to answer some of your questions. Maybe we can have Mrs. Kaufman come to a future meeting or help reach back out on it.
And there's, you know, there's never one assessment that is, you know, you use multiple assessments to really look at children. And again, I know this meeting is really about the budget hearing. And I know that has been gone over and reviewed with you, Dr. Della Camera, on several occasions with not just Ms. Kaufman, but many people have, and, you know, and again, this is, you know, we don't just use, you know, the assessment data, different assessments give us different information about a child. And so we have worked very hard at that, and we have more of a comprehensive look at our children today than ever before. And I know you have a different, you know, in terms of your thinking around it, and we always appreciate you know, the discussion and dialogue we've had. But, you know, but there has been a lot of hard work and thought into these assessments and the value of those assessments that we do give our students.
Right. I think the issue is when you have a running record that shows that a child is reading at grade level and then they're really not, that's a problem. You know, you have a false sense.
That's why there's multiple assessments given, not just one. We don't rely on just one.
What else are you doing besides running records?
That I can share that with you. I think Ms. Kaufman has shared that with you when she has met with you. And if you need that, if you want to, it's also on our website. And if I can email that link to you so you can take a look at the assessments we do give.
Right now, I know about the NWEAs and I know about the New York State ELAs. I didn't know if there were any other classroom assessments besides those.
There are other assessments we give. I'll send you a link
Okay.
to that. And I know, or you can even speak to you know, your child's classroom teacher, the principal, or Ms. Kaufman, but I'll send you the link to
Sure.
the assessments we do
And
give.
then my other concern was in 7th grade. I don't think my son's read an entire book this school year in 7th grade. I
So
don't.
have you spoken to your child's teacher, classroom teacher?
No, he really.
I would encourage you to
Okay.
speak to your child's classroom teacher.
Okay. Is there going to be a scope and sequence for middle school for ELA available to parents before the year starts? in September?
You know, I know we had worked on the K through 5
Right.
and the middle school. I believe that I can actually give you an update on that. I know that our team has been working on that.
Okay, so you think we'll have that before the fall, a scope and sequence?
I'm pretty sure that we will, but I don't want to tell you something that, and we don't deliver on that. I can actually report on that at the next Board of Education meeting, or I could have Ms. Kaufman give you a call.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. For any other? Oh, there we go.
Hello, my name is Liz Canales and I live in 10 Keenan Place. I was looking at your budget and something that came across to me was your textbook budget. I currently have my child enrolled in Stewart. And I see that there's like a 10% or 11% increase on textbooks. From my time that my daughter has been in 5th grade, I haven't seen a textbook. I probably have seen 2 books that she has read. So I just want to know, like, is there a breakdown of what the funds are going to go to? Because it says textbooks, does that go to other services?
Textbooks for state reporting
Okay.
has to do with consumables as well.
Okay,
So that would encompass both of those. And yes, there's actual breakdowns of that. And if you have any questions on it, you could either contact my office or contact the building principal. So they have an allotment for all of but I would say the majority of it on the elementary level is consumables.
okay, thank you. And then one other question, when I was looking at this budget versus the budget that we got at home, there was like a booklet that we got at home with the breakdown. I know the numbers are different, but the total number is the same. So should I go off of this budget that we're going over today versus the one that I got from home?
They're the same.
They're the same. Oh, okay, because when I was looking at some of the numbers, they seemed a little bit different. So I think here, like you summed them up probably, or.
Yes, I mean, it's only a 4-page document.
No,
So
I understand, but to
Yeah.
me, it seems kind of like misleading because I'm thinking like, this is what I got home, right? And this is what we're gonna be focusing on.
it'd
And
be
then I
exactly
come
the
here.
same. So if there's
There were like a few discrepancies, but I'm just saying, when I'm looking at that, for people who are not here or haven't come or wouldn't see this, they're very much looking at the numbers that they received at home when they're doing the budget. So I think just my comment in the future, it would be good if the same numbers that are mailed to your home and presented here are the same. Or it could be disclosed saying like the numbers are gonna.
The numbers that, the budget brochure that we send home for
Yeah.
to our community members, those numbers are the same as we present. We may present it differently to you in terms of like the way they're, how should I say it, the way they are grouped.
Categorized.
Yes,
Correct.
but the numbers itself, and then on our website, we do have the detailed, the codes with the detailed figures there. That's available for everybody.
No, I'm just saying this because I have a lot of elderly neighbors who rely on these numbers and they don't have time to like log on the internet or come here. So it just seems a little bit misleading to that.
Yeah, over the budget, I think they are accurate. I wish
Mhm.
I wish I could, if you could point
Yeah,
that
like
out.
see
just
right
let us know.
here. I have it here, like it says textbooks for proposed budget. It says $258,000 for 2023 to 2024. Right? But then when I'm looking at your number, you guys lumped up other amounts, which is 400 and something thousand dollars.
I'll take a look at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There any other questions in the room? Any other comments from the board? No. No. Any comments? The next regular session will take place next week, Tuesday, May 16th, 2023 at 8:15 at the Garden City High School. As previously mentioned, please go out and vote. The budget vote will take place on Tuesday, May 16th, 2023, the same day as the board meeting in the gymnasium at the Garden City High School from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. As previously mentioned, there is still one slot open on the Board of Education. It'll be available if anybody'd like to serve as a writing candidate, please do so. At this time, may I have a motion that the Board of Education adjourns to executive session?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.